And I'm also muting everybody. Here,
Thank you.
hold on. Okay, now unmute yourself.
Good evening and welcome to the February 2025 edition of the Poetry Playhouse Zoom open mic. This next month will be the 5th anniversary of this broadcast, and we have all the previous recordings on the YouTube channel of Jules Nyquist. If you want to go back and look at them, there's some amazing readings and discussions over the years by poets from New Mexico and throughout the United States. So we thought that we, under the present dangerous times, we should perhaps revisit the first installment of this horror show, which happened with the inauguration of Donald J. Trump in 2017. And the evening of the inauguration, we had a poetry get together in Albuquerque at the Voices of the Barrio series hosted by Marcial Delgado, and I put on a mask or a little play, a little one-act play sort of thing. Invited some local poets to take part in this play, and the point of it, and it's actually published. The script is at the back of this Trump book, but the point of it was that it was going to be an exorcism of Trump. No one wanted to play Trump. So it fell to me to play Trump. I got exercised. The next day was the huge women's march. Jules went down to the plaza in Albuquerque for that. And I was writhing in pain. And the next day, rushed to the hospital with a bad gallbladder, which I to this day blame on Trump. He got my gall up, right? So anyway, we were looking then in the days following that. We were looking for some response, mostly some way of signaling that we're still here, some way of countering the depression that so many people felt. And we started this series, ended up being 5 books. First 2 were Trumped, that I edited, Hers, that Jules edited, and then later, those both in the spring of 2017. And then that summer, Water, very important in New Mexico and everywhere. And then the next year, 2018, Walls and Survival, the thickest, actually. And so we were raising money. First of all, we had poets from throughout the country and from England, Scotland, as far away as Singapore. This was pre-Zoom times, so we didn't actually have as much an international contributor list as we probably would these days. But what we did was we put all the profits to resistance organizations, the Southwest Women's Law Center, the American Civil Liberties Union, the Southern Poverty Law Center, the National Immigration Law Center, and the Indigenous Environmental Network. And Denise Weaver Ross, who is here, did these wonderful covers and with the flowers behind barbed wire. And each one, it's the same design, but
Really
different
different.
colors.
Yeah. And
And
I'd like to say one thing about, so for each book, so like when Trump came out, we were thinking about a series, but we hadn't visualized the whole series yet. We did a book launch in a different place for each of the books. And then we had and everybody who was in the anthology was invited to read. Okay. Um, and
And
then,
that was a wonderful thing. Just getting everybody together, we felt like we weren't alone, and so that was to me was a big part of it. And we did book readings in Minneapolis, in Los Angeles, in New London, Connecticut, Rochester, New York, Buffalo, New York, Santa Fe, Albuquerque. I probably missing a couple. Yeah. So it was good. Um, so anything else that I should mention?
and then with some of the organizations that we donated to, I remember, I know for hers, we, that was, I think we donated to the Southern Poverty Law Center, all in Albuquerque, local organizations. And Pamela Herndon was there at working at that time as the director. So
Uh, of the Southwest Women's Law Center. Yeah.
yeah, right. It's the Southwest Women's Law Center. I think it's, yeah. So, and she's a lawyer now. She's doing other great things in New Mexico. But we actually went down there, gave copies of the book for their library, and gave them a check as well. So we really wanted to make some personal connections. Um, if Denise is available, I can spotlight her. And Denise Weaver Ross does the covers for all of our Poetry Playhouse Publications books. And she kind of came up with the idea of doing these covers. We knew we wanted like a rose kind of thing with the barbed wire. And so she came up with that, the design. And then we thought, well, what are we going to do for the second one, and hers? So we thought, oh, do white. And then we kept coming up with the same idea. And
So,
Waltz, we actually did white,
mhm.
so we did these
So
different
there's kind of a set.
lighter
Yeah.
blue, right? And then we ended it with survival with the green because we wanted to hopefully surviving. So Denise, do you want to? I don't know, you want to say anything about the process or what?
I don't know.
Did you come up with the idea?
I do this sort of thing all the time, so I don't really have a recollection of a specific process. I just
And Denise is a
naturally
poet. Yeah, Denise
find
is a poet.
images to go with words because I'm an artist and a poet. So, yeah, I think they turned out very handsomely, and the colors worked well, and it was for a good cause. So there you go.
We
And Denise is
actually,
a fine poet as well. She'll be reading a couple of her poems in a minute. Uh,
and we actually jointly published with Jules Poetry Playhouse and Beat Press as well.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Beatlick Press that was published by Pamela Hurst and edited by Deb Coy. Now it's located in Mexico City, but at that time it was located in Albuquerque. So this was jointly published between Jules Poetry Playhouse
And I have a big thank you to Pamela Hurst because her and Deb Coy with Beatlick Press helped us launch books. And then we eventually did Poetry Playhouse Publications, but a lot of it was a lot of joint work for a few of books as well. So
yeah.
um,
So yeah, that's terrific.
and
And um,
I'll
just
say one more thing. Yep.
I just wanted to say Larry Goodell is here. So
Yes.
hi, Larry.
Yes. And then at the very end, at the last series, the survival, we had a wrap party, and we had all 5 books for sale. And of course, on all these book launches, we had refreshments and food. And I know we had that in Santa Fe at Peter's Gallery, and John Macker
Who's here?
is here, who will be reading, and was gracious enough to let us arrange the use of the gallery for that final reading, which is really nice. So
A wonderful space, yeah.
Um,
So anyway, I guess later we want to think about, you know, what do we do now? I mean, we had this project 8 years ago, and now we're back in this even worse situation. I don't feel like an anthology series is the right way to go. I think something more drastic. I don't know. But the question of how artists and poets and musicians respond, creative people respond to actually a worldwide crisis now, is something that we need to start to think about, and maybe by going back and looking at how we responded to this previous, if not as terrible situation, may give us some insights moving forward.
John,
Yeah.
do you want do you want to start with
Yeah, I'm
first
going to
poem?
start with the first poem in the
Okay.
collection,
All
which
right.
was
Well,
which was by me, and
because
and
it's
yeah.
okay, yeah, because it speaks to that. So I'll let you read that. Yeah.
So this is called Trumped. Trump looms, Trump lurks, Trump snorts, Trump humps the chair, Trump grasps the electric scepter, Trump pants and groans, Trump sweats, orange bleeds, orange melts orange, nomad Sweeney, nomad Lear, nomad Quee. How can a brand be mad? How can a brand be tragic? How can a brand be a man? Trump steaks, Trump hotels, Trump casinos, success by Trump cologne, the Trump shuttle, Trump neckwear, Trump cufflinks, Trump chandeliers, Trump cocktail tables, Trump bar stools, Trump vodka, Trump natural spring water, Trump ice. Yes, he really tried to market ice. Trump the game, Trump University, Tour de Trump. A nation of salesmen meets the age of simulacra. The ultimate Babbitt, the true fruition of everything Melville, Twain, Whitman, Veblen, Lewis, Vidal warned us against. The Donald are us, in hype we trust. All of us coated with a great orange oil slick. All of us covered in the gurry of it, as Olson would say. All of us covered in great orange whale shit. Is it possible to write poetry after Trump? Still the question we ask. And on the next page, there's a really short but very apt poem by Pasadena, California poet Teresa Maychuk, who also hosted us out there for this series. It's called After Trump. We thought we were after Trump 4 years ago, and here we go. We are learning to walk again, as if for the first time, and to talk with each other. Take an unsteady step towards the open arms of our humanity. So that is the positive one, and I'm going to give you one more not so positive. Well, it depends on how you take it. This is from a Vermont poet, Caitlin Gildrian. I don't think she's here tonight. If you are, please speak up. Otherwise, I'm going to read the poem. It's called Transition. Remember the change in pitch after your water broke, when you could no longer tell yourself that what you were feeling was an interesting sensation requiring all your attention, when you could no longer tell yourself you were feeling anything but pain, Remember how your voice dropped low when the pains hit, and how the midwife nodded and murmured approvingly. Now something was happening. Remember how then, after a while, the low moans pitched upward, sometimes into shrieks. You wanted something different, a YouTube birth, the kind you get when you type in gentle, peaceful home birth. But you were not at home, and you were in the end screaming. I think this is like that. I think it's going to be. We are in the low moans now. The hope of a peaceful revolution flew off with that sparrow from the lectern, and those still seeking revolution do not seek peace. Mostly these things are bloody. In any case, most often they make a mess. And now we're dilating, we're breathing hard, and we're going to have to work now, going to have to push, even though we think it'll tear us in half. It's months too late now to change our minds. The question now is whether and which of us will make it through alive. Caitlin Gildrian. Yeah, that poem, yeah.
And John, could you say that's in Trumped or what?
This is in Trump. These
Yeah.
were all in Trump, the first volume. I want to bring up Demetria Martinez, who's down from La Cienega, Santa Fe, and Demetria actually is going to be doing a workshop next month in a couple of weeks for us on basically on poetry in dangerous times, which is what this is all about. Demetria, when the day of the inauguration, I was driving just over to the next town over, and I heard her on the radio, the local PBS, and NPR station at University of New Mexico, KUNM, and you're on Carol Boss's show, I think, and it was the day after. I think it was the day after the inauguration, and she read this poem that again blew me away, and I think is even more relevant now than it was then. So Demetria is going to read her inauguration day poem and maybe a couple more poems. Yeah, watch the chord. Thanks.
Thanks, John, and thanks, John and Jules, for pulling this event together at a time when we most need it. This is Inauguration Day 2017. A Mexican nun once told me to refry beans, add a touch of milk if you don't have lard. Remember that, friends. Write it down. Write down all such tips from foremothers who lived through such times, who knew to add extra onion for flavor, still more onion to stretch the meal. We have so many to feed and ourselves to nourish, gathering strength to pull the curtain behind which the conqueror cowers. Hot tortillas, splendid table. We hold hands, say the blessing. Pass the pepper, pass the salt. And that's in Survival. Remember Maria. Remember how she walked across the waters of the Rio Grande. Remember how she flashed her passport with a photo of Our Lady of Guadalupe at the border guards. Remember how she waved a broom like a wand at work, wielded rags and buckets until the house shone. There are thousands of Marias with dark eyes that watch you. Don't turn away, or you'll miss a miracle, a story of a nation being born beneath the North Star. The next poem is called Dreamers Talk Back to the Border Patrol. Dreamers refer to undocumented immigrants who were brought to the United States as children. Because you cannot detain clouds and clamoring rain, because you cannot detain a blizzard of apple blossoms, because you cannot detain the scent of honeysuckle and blue corn soup, Love too evades your searchlight. Love flies like a butterfly from sky to sky. Because you cannot detain a dream, we are your worst nightmares. Borders. Someday borders will be no more, because too many people died crossing, because still more people survived. Walls will come tumbling down. Monarch butterflies and children will dance among the ruins. Fields of sunflowers will spring up over the graves of the fallen. Their names, Maria, Jose, Jesus, will be inscribed in a new poetry that will not let us forget. Thank you.
Thank you, Demetria.
Thank you, Demetria. That was great. Thank you. Yeah. And yeah, Demetria is one of our most inspiring poets here in New Mexico and has been for some time. So I want to bring up my co-editor, co-publisher, Jules Nyquist, to read a few poems.
Great. Let's see. I'm doing so I think after that Demetria poem about borders, I'm going to read two poems. The first one is Out of Walls, and it's on page 85. It's called Imaginary Borders. And this was inspired by Albuquerque driving and what we witnessed. We are tourists and U.S. citizens driving on New Mexico Highway 22 towards the Tent Rocks when a road closed sign surprises us. A U.S. Immigration Border Patrol station spans the road behind a detour sign. We drive around and notice Mexico printed on the other side in red, green, and white. How is this possible? It must be a movie set, the only explanation we can think of. We are near Pueblo de Cochiti, crossing Pueblo land, government land, private land, sacred land. We drive the gravel road, climbing precarious curves to the top of the mesa, and I wonder if the gray clouds in the distance will bring rain and flash floods, leaving us stranded. The overlook is named for American veterans, and we walk the loop trail while lightning flashes make me uneasy. Am I trespassing in this place of indescribable beauty? Volcanic ash piles from eons ago hold songs from the women of Cochiti, the storytellers. They echo through the spirals, preserve lost heritage. On our drive back, we approach a red pickup truck stopped in the middle of the gravel road. We wait a while, then move to pass. The woman is praying. She tells us through her open window. We know now we can stop being tourists. On our pretend entry out of Mexico, we are free to return to Albuquerque. Unlike the thousands who try to cross that border daily, unlike the real wall building into something unimaginable. And again, this was written pre-pandemic, and during the pandemic, the Tent Rocks closed, and now they are open again on limited online reservation passes, as some of you probably know already. So my second and last poem will be out of hers, and I am especially proud of hers because it did get to be a finalist in the New Mexico Arizona Book Awards. And I was the one who primarily edited this volume and put it together and seeked poems. So I am very proud of all the poets and poems that are in this version of the volume. So I thought I'd read, have the request for the Nasty Women Pantoum. And I actually read this poem in Santa Fe at the Capitol Rotunda. It must have been 2017 or 2018. And it references many various women leaders. So you can, there's some repetition in the pantoum. I suppose I could have stayed home, baked cookies, hosted teas, but I've been labeled a nasty woman. If I was elected, I could have slept with an ex-president. The first dude would have played sax full time. I am a nasty woman. Janet Reno's mother wrestled alligators. The first dude would have played sax full time. Georgia said if I painted that mountain long enough, I would own it. Janet Reno's mother wrestled alligators. My life broke in two right there, Mabel. Georgia said if I painted that mountain long enough, I would own it. I am proud to wear pantsuits. My life broke in two, Mabel. I am fearless on the far side of 50, Erica. I am proud to wear pantsuits with zippers, flying first class without fear. I'll escape to an island. I've had enough. I am fearless, long past the far side of 50. Joan didn't sleep with any man who had a draft card. Flying first class without fear, I will continue to work with children. I could have been your Madam President. Victoria Woodhull was counting on me. Joan didn't sleep with any man who had a draft card. A woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. I could have been your Madam President. Victoria Woodhull was counting on me. I would have kept abortion legal. Honey, if men could get pregnant, it would be a sacrament. A woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. I wasn't elected, but I can still sleep with the ex-president. I would have kept abortion legal. Honey, if men could get pregnant, it would be a sacrament. I suppose I could have stayed home, baked cookies, hosted teas. And that is for Hillary Rodham Clinton, Janet Reno, Mabel Dodge Lujan, Georgia O'Keeffe, Erica Jong, Joan Baez, Victoria Woodhull, and Gloria Steinem. And I would add Kamala Harris after this as well, and all the other women representatives that we have.
Let's
All right.
thank you so much. Let's bring up Denise again to read some poems.
Okay, let me find Denise here. Hey.
Hi.
And
Hey.
just say which volume are you reading under.
So the first poem I'm reading is from hers. So it is called, so on page 17, it's called The Queen's Fire. The lives of queens have ended with beheadings, a poison asp at the breast, and the fire of sati. Not only queens, but girls have burned with the voice of God in their mouths. Women drowned as witches for healing the sick, and babies mutilated to carve away the pleasure from their own bodies. Burning with every turn of the wheel, we ignite new wings and fly. So that one's from hers. And then I'm just going to read. I have two short poems from this is a longer poem I wrote during the pandemic, but if we were doing these books right now, it would be in one of these books. It's in my book called Letters to the Deceased and Other Missives. So this is called Draining the Swamp. COVID-19 hit in the middle of major home repairs. I was already spending more time in hardware stores than I had since the 80s when my late husband and I renovated a colonial-style home built in the late 1800s just south of Boston. My housemate and I were fixing a small leak from a tiny abandoned copper refrigerator water pipe when he ventured into the crawl space beneath the 50s era portion of my Albuquerque house to turn it off and discover the swamp. Created by a broken drain pipe filled with hair and soap coming from the bathtub, and now draining directly into the sand beneath the house. It's a good thing we live in the high desert since it's been flowing unchecked for some time, and there's no evidence of mold yet. So now I'm lurking in the plumbing aisle at Home Depot wearing my mask with the plumbing friend of a friend who's picking out the right parts to retrofit the lead-lined drain pipe and reduce the cost to within the range of my stimulus check. Meanwhile, the swamp draining president is trying to manage the pandemic without vital infrastructure. And I am reminded of Hurricane Katrina, how so-called reclaimed wetlands around the Mississippi Basin worsened the ability to contain the floodwaters that poured directly into the Ninth Ward, and how complex ecosystems like Louisiana's bayous, Wisconsin's marshes, and Florida's Everglades were labeled swamps by real estate developers hungry for land and profit and dismissive the diversity of life they support. There is a parable here somewhere. So that's we're back to the draining the swamp again, I'm afraid. The last poem is from Survival because I'm feeling the need for survival right now. So this is from Survival. It's page 3, and it's how to survive the space-time continuum. Live in negative space, walk along the edge of lines, disappear under wave tops, surf over sine and cosine, skim buoyantly over reefs, scrape belly and back, let the sand and the undertow pull, retract, push, recede. Dive to the seafloor, dance with extremophiles, suck life from hydrothermal vents 7,000 feet under the sea. Rocket to a new world, thrive a moment at 750 degrees, then dying, build a new life for the molecular level. Divide, subtract, multiply, breathe between the nanoseconds. So those are my poems for tonight.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you so much, Denise. Yeah, thank you.
And
There's been a little reverb.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. I said, Jules, there's a little reverb. So if you're not, those who are not reading, please remember to mute because a little reverb. Can we bring up Larry Goodell next? Spotlight Larry Goodell, our Placidus neighbor. Hello, Larry.
Since I've been through all this, I'm on my my Surface here, and can you hear me?
Oh yes.
Okay.
I can see you and I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, because I couldn't hear on my speakers, so that's why I've got this headphones.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry for all to do. I don't know.
We've had a lot of
It's my
technical
fault, Larry, so don't worry about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. And I heard most of what's been done so far, and thank you very, very much.
Good.
So this is from Survival. ¿Qué pasa, Picasso? Ugly vanity, ugliness tainted with poison inside, one accolade after another, can't sustain the bric-a-brac ego based on everything gone wrong. Emollients become emoluments. ¿Qué pasa, Picasso? Where has true greatness gone? And we're left with a leader of fine filth, total devastation of good, a lying excuse for humanity, unhumaned, sad trace of flesh, getting everything wrong and proving it as the evil cohorts come out of the closet. The gangs of uncivil idiots multiply under the vermin watch of their leader. If beauty is to survive, every free discipline of creativity must take the spotlight, can only put out art before art is put out. Bring out every play, poem, painting, performance, song, ensemble, band, orchestra, instrument, jazz, hip hop, to sustained opera, singing at its heart level, the intense comic satire, Art forms of words and all music at high determined outflow in the most beautiful song of survival ever to exist. We are creating an exit to madness, a restoration of the best of our revolutionary drama. Que pasa, Picasso? I see you everywhere. We are all reasserting our improvised strength to topple the most pathetic bitch of all of our time, the effete poop head of our would-be destruction. Que pasa, Picasso? Everywhere, create ourselves out of this madness. And I'll thank you again. Maybe I could take these silly things off.
Yeah.
Okay. Just this little song from Water. I know Lenore and I were out in Bernalillo watershed today in an arroyo drain there, and it is so dry. And if we don't get snowpack, we're not going to have water this summer, here in the village, in the old village of Placitas. We're dependent on snow melt for the springs that give us our water. So this is a little thing called None of Us Are Poor. The springs are running dry, but none of us have to cry. The snows won't come, but that only worries some. We populate in the place of our dreams. We got what we want. Oh, yes, it seems. There isn't any water. There isn't any water. But don't worry, there's people galore. There isn't any water. There isn't any water. But don't worry, there's money and more. There isn't any water, there isn't any water. But don't worry, there's lots in the store. There isn't any water, there isn't any water. But don't worry, none of us are poor. We get it in a bottle with a wine and liquor. Markets full from ceiling to floor. There isn't any water, no drip, drop, drip. But don't worry, there's money and more. There isn't any water, pipes run dry. But don't worry, there's people galore. There isn't any water, nothing in the faucet. But don't worry, there's lots in the store. Markets full from ceiling to floor. We don't worry, none of us are poor.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
And
These books are fantastic. What an accomplishment. There are 4 of them. 4? Five. Good God.
Yeah. Gretchen Schultz in Rochester says, "Rock on, Larry."
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Speaking of Rochester, next we'd like to bring up Bart White from Pittsford, New York. And Bart is very active in the poetry scene up there. And we published a book of his a few years ago, The Art of Restoration. So always good to see you, Bart.
Good to see you, John. Hello, everybody. Thanks for gathering us, John and Jules. Thanks for that series of books. John, one of the first poetry arenas that I came to, you invited me to come here, a book launch for this one, Liberty's Vigil.
Yes.
The Occupy Anthology, 99 Poets Among the 99%. That's by Carolyn Merrifield, was the co-editor with Dwayne Wilder.
Yeah.
And
they were
very quickly.
Yeah, they were both very active contributors in this series as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
they open it with this quote. It's very short, and then I'll do a poem, and that'll be my 5 minutes. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Power is ever stealing from the many to the few. And there's more to that, but and that is a quote from Wendell Phillips of the 19th century. I had a poem in Walls that was took as its genesis an immigrant story. It's called My Brother's Keeper. The story ran in the New York Times. The setting initially in the poem is here in our little village of Pittsford outside Rochester. My Brother's Keeper. Soup's the theme for this poem. You may think it unworthy, but it's really good soup. Our waitress has brought and set before us on the counter where we like to sit, my daughter and I, in the village diner. Chicken noodle for me, minestrone for her. Steam rises in happy tendrils from 2 white bowls with a square pack of crackers tucked aside. On paper napkins, as on a cloud, silver moon-faced spoons. Everything as it should be. I've been to take the first taste. I know the world suffers. Its sorrows are renewed each day. They're in my pocket on the phone I carry. Its black screen springs to life with the swipe of a finger. We eat our soup, open the crackers, and dip them. Children cross our borders under cover of night. We don't know what to do with them. By the thousands they have come. We are appalled. What mother would send her child on such a journey? We slurp our soups, trade tastes. 7-year-old Arturo is looking for his brother who didn't come home last night. The abandoned building at the end of the street is where bad things happen, but that's where his brother must be. Lookouts see him walking as one to an execution. These watchers of the street watch him and are silent. Arturo pauses at the doorless threshold. He calls into the darkness, but no one answers. He steps inside. I think and do not think of the boy gone to seek his brother, of the 2 sets of clothes, the jeans, 2 t-shirts, one bigger, one smaller, on a bed they shared in a simple room, or of their mother who lay them side by side on the bed, smoothing the clothes with the palm of her hand again and again. We have finished our soup. Our bowls are empty. The goodness of the soup is inside us. I give my gracias for the blessing of the soup. I ask forgiveness that I am not my brother's keeper. I beg perdono, and in the name of Arturo, I pray. I've got a follow-up poem that came recently. It's very short. It's called Power. They roared like Romans in their marble arena, no mercy, with bloodlust in their throats, chanting and chanting over and over, no mercy, no mercy. The emperor, satisfied of their approval, nods and smiles, turns his thumb eternally down. I'll post a link to that poem. It comes with an illustration. And John, I think the gathering tonight, one of your questions was what role for poets? There's a quote from a Russian poet who lived under Stalinism, Anna Akhmatova. She was waiting outside a prison for news of her son, as were hundreds of other citizens in Leningrad. And someone recognized her and asked her very simply, "Can you describe this?" And she said, "I can."
Thank you. Thank you. A very powerful reading, Bart. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks.
Mhm.
I'll put in the chat that link.
Terrific. Thank you. Jules, let's see. We have, I think, was John Macker next, I think, and then Bill Nevins, or did I have it backwards? One or the other.
Either way, who do you want?
Well, it doesn't matter. John Macker, I guess. Mhm. And
Okay,
then Bill.
find John here and yeah. All right, welcome, John.
It's John, take it away. And John's up in Santa Fe. John, you are muted. You have to unmute. Still muted. Okay.
How's that?
There we
Is
go.
that better?
Mhm.
Thank you guys for doing this, and thanks for publishing this great group of anthologies.
And
After the first,
thanks for hosting back in the day with Peter's Gallery too.
yeah, that was a fun. That was a
That
fun
was a
afternoon.
really fun rap party. Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
some good ones up in Teatro Paraguas in Santa Fe as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great venue for this type of thing. And I'm going to read one from Walls. And what I want to just open quickly with a quote by the poet Robert Duncan, who wrote one time that it's kind of a famous quote. He said, "Kings love poets because since time began, poets gave kings their immortality." And I think when it comes to Trump, we will give him his immortality. It will be an infamy, but it will be immortal. And this poem is called Navigating an Archipelago of Treacheries. It's about the border. The poppies are electric orange and bright as the sun. The wild roses climb up the wall into the sky. They bunch together in a refuge of fake fallen stars that rustle restlessly in the May breeze. It is summer somewhere south of here. I can feel it coming, its wild breath in my face, warming without reassurance on its trek from the borderlands to the high country. In Mexico, the journalists are disappearing like Virga, no trace of their words touching ground. And this is where sacrifice has become bloody ritual, where each daily breath is caught in the act of gasping for prayer. The overheated silence replaces the words, and the pages are worn by the wind into shreds, emptied of all meaning, and the killing continues. I want a reverie of last beers with Luis Alberto Yarria and Charles Bowden. Heroes of mine, I want to guide my aging bones into the desert, walking until it becomes a wisdom tradition. I want to feel the heat of the sun on the back of my arthritic neck. I want to be accompanied by a corona of hummingbirds. And out here, the border trekkers navigate an archipelago of treacheries and burnt-out days without succor or shade. We are coming for them, but they're not waiting for us. We will freeze them in their tracks at the wall that somebody around here with circumspect knowledge of the issue is going to pay for. We will stop them in their paw prints. We will plunder animal and plant families and separate them from themselves. And the coming heat and the purity of our mission will be relentless and without remorse. And in a reverie, I'm blasting back midnight beers with Yarria and Bowden. I am drinking for the lost souls and the misbegotten. My bleeding heart lunges at shadows, won't let me sleep, calls me foul names. And like many people, I used to save all this self-sabotage for the duskiest ends of the day. when I could hear the desert age and then renew itself in the rhetorical flourishes of songbirds, in the ascetic ramblings of the scorpion, when the scent of it was shamelessly spring blossom sweet.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to end up with one poem. I think Jules and John have heard this before. It's called The Women of Mariupol. And I wrote it for Corinna McNeese's show here in um, Santa Fe at the Here Gallery, um, concerning uh, what happened to the city of Mariupol in Ukraine. And it was a gorgeous, tragic exhibit. It's called The Women of Mariupol and has a line by Linda Hogan in it. And she says, "At night alone, the world is a river in me." One woman wore burn scars that never remembered the sun. One woman, a grandmother, went out for a loaf of bread and her hair turned white overnight. One woman prayed, "At night alone, the world is a river in me." One woman walked through the ruins of the city park and followed the tracks of her grandchildren in the deep blackened snow. We can see behind the hard, beautiful eyes where war has found safe haven. Behind the toppled gray buildings, a puddle of red water is the only mirror. All windows to the soul not shattered are exposed to the elements. These hearts, our hearts, have known their winters. They abide nothing, and dawn is a rumor spread by death. The sudden onslaught reconstituted one woman's children as shadows, and her breath as dust, and war has swallowed the earth beneath her, but the terrain of spirit remains. One woman of Mariupol is as thin as filament. She can't see the stars through the smoke, but they glitter for her still in a crater full of rain. Thank you very much for the evening. Evening, great words. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, John. Stunning work. Thank you. And your last poem reminds me that this week is the 3rd anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And we don't know whether Trump will sell them down the river or not. We don't know yet what's going to happen. There's a lot of
There's wheeling and dealing.
dealings, a lot of wheeling and dealing. Yeah, a lot of gamblers.
Yeah, yeah.
On this, and so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then let's see. The last reader for this portion, I believe, is Bill Nevins from Angel Fire and Albuquerque and soon to be Taos, right? Hey, Bill.
Yeah, that's right. Hi, I'm in Albuquerque right now. John and Jules, thanks for doing this, printing these books, and keeping it going. You have paid your dues. Okay, here I'll give you three short poems in 5 minutes. This is from Trumped, the first book, and it's on page 107. And the title is Fascist Religions Make You Feel So Good. White people say the cutest things. Danny Solis spoke in the Golden West restroom circa 1999 during the poetry and whiskey sessions. So why don't the Rolling Stones sue Trump's candy ass for expropriating their best songs to blast over the speakers at his Mussolini light rallies like the one in Burke I went to the other night? Time is on my side. You can't always get what you want. Let's spend the night together. Shit. I found myself singing along with the Trump fans while they jostled each other and gobbled processed cheese spread and jalapenos on white corn chips, decked out in their red and blue and white best, bomb ISIS, build a wall buttons, and appetites. Fuck. For a while, I thought I was at the Celtic games, a football party, or shit, a Stones concert. This one's from Walls, and it's on page 124. Windfall. Words from Grace Slick and the Jefferson Airplane here. Don't ever change, people, even if you can. Don't change before the empire falls. You'll laugh so hard, you'll crack the walls. Windfall. Must fall, should fall, will fall. After that death we never saw coming, a death too soon, that wall went up, that cursed wall, so we could not talk. Estranged, how strange, that wall must fall. I throw love over the wall, under the wall, through the wall, love through the air, love in the wind. Wall, fall, wind will wash, wall, fall, wind will roar, wall, fall, wind will blow, love against the wall, love you all. Keep on battering down this empire's wall with love until there is no wall.
All right.
And this one wasn't in those anthologies, but maybe it could have been. And it's in this book I just put out called Light Bending. It's on page 148 of that. Lock up and get out, prepping for Project 2025. Freddie, get ready, rock steady. Warren Zevon. Lock up and get out. Get locked up, even if only for a night, because you insulted a cop or you asked the cops to let you in. Even if you just visit a cell for an hour or 2 or 3 on some pretext of being a journalist, a poet, a religious zealot, an architect, a lawyer, a drunk, an illegal immigrant, a refugee, a person of color, a commie, or a lib, or queer. Just figure out how to get in. You're smart enough to do that. And then when you are in, think about how it would feel not to be able to get out and feel that feeling. It's real. Now you are ready to support the resistance. Try to stay free because that's where it's going to be. Gracias.
Yeah. Thank you for your poems and your wisdom, Bill. Thank you. Hold on a second. You right there.
Okay.
I am just going to read one short one to finish up this segment, and then we'll get going with the open mic. And this is from Survival, and it's called Joe the Poet's Guide to Surviving Fascism.
Oh, we had to have Joe the Poet in there at the end,
Gotta
right?
come in somewhere. Most of you know Joe the Poet is a time-traveling poet, so he's seen some of this before. Okay. Joe the Poet's Guide to Surviving Fascism. 1, know who your true friends are. 2, live near the tracks and keep your suitcase packed. 3, keep your passport current. 4, helps to know some folks with a farm or cabin where you could hide out. 5, as Woody said, don't expect a handout from the rich, but the poor will share what little they have. 6, keep a sense of humor, even if it's gallows humor. And we've had some of that tonight. 7, keep your guitar tuned. 8, keep on writing, but be careful how you share. 9, personal survival is important, but not the most important. 10, remember, you contain multitudes and me belongs to we. Thanks to the contributors that got us started today. And we're moving to the next hour. And yeah, thank you. And I wanted to start with, I have just a few contributors who are here. Let's see, who may be here.
We can, I guess if there's part of the series, we can keep recording.
Yeah, they are. So is Gail Lorden here?
No, she signed up, but she's not here.
Gene Stelzig is here, right? And Mary Strong Jackson, Gretchen Schultz, Janet Ruth, and Karen Bradbury. Any of those here?
Yes, some of them are here. Who do you want to start with?
I will start with Gene Stelzig from Geneseo, New York.
Oh, here we go.
Eugene.
Eugene.
Hi, Gene.
Oh, hello, everybody.
Good to see you. Yeah.
I'm gonna read after these wonderful poems I've listened to. I'm a little bit chastened, but I'm gonna read the one in Trump on page 34, which I hadn't really looked at in years and years. But the scenario it scripts is actually more palpably present now, 8 years later, than then. It's called
been weird, weird looking at some of these older poems that seem to relate more now than they did then. Weird. Yeah.
It's kind of freaky. So it's titled Things Unthinkable. When suddenly the unexpected and unthinkable occurs, things appear in an entirely different light. What was once invisible can now be seen. What was once taboo can now be spoken and heard by all. What was once utterly beyond the pale is now the new du jour. The shape of things has completely changed at one fell swoop. The hidden is here and now, said out loud without any pretense or reserve. Soon the new order of the day will be so routine that once again it will be unheard and unseen. The familiar world is still there in vestigial form, but nothing will ever be the same again.
I was just thinking about this week's, 180-degree switch in terms of Russia, Ukraine, and so forth. As just one of that,
unimaginable.
Yeah.
The other short one I wanted to read is it's called Post-November 5 Election Blues. They wrote this right after the election. There will be fewer birds, bees, and butterflies, but there will be many more lies. There will be much less clean water and air, but there will be many more fires, floods, heat waves, and hurricanes. There will be much less laughter and many more tears. There will be so much less hope, but so many more fears during the coming years. There will be many more preening billionaires, but fewer of us who can still say honest prayers. There will be more of us who can see the coming hell, but fewer of those who think things are going to end well. And when the birds, bees, and butterflies can barely survive, the ticks, mosquitoes, and cockroaches will happily thrive.
Wow. Again,
cheerful poem.
Yes. Thank you. It's so good to see you and hear you. So yeah.
Good to see you. Thanks for hosting this, John.
Thank you,
and Jules.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
who is next now?
Gretchen Schultz from Rochester, New York.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, it's the elusive Gretchen. How you doing? So great to see you.
Yeah, I see Bart. Bart lives here, but I can see him now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Everyone, thanks, Jules and John, for doing these books.
Thank you.
Donating all the money that you did. I wanted to read a couple poems not from the books.
Sure.
This first one is, well, I'll just read it. Cadence of the Unheard. Flying flower, exquisitely camouflaged, moving swiftly, rapidly beating heart and wings, seeking fuel, maintaining delicate balance, with no rest to be had, continuing on. It's dangerous to be so small in a world built for tanks for Ukraine. This other one's also a short poem. Something from nothing. His mouth a gaping hole, filled with lies, absurdity. Disappointment is painful to listen to. Closing my eyes, rain appears, turning my arms and legs into supple branches whose tender spring leaves hold the nests of baby birds. This last one is another short poem. It's around all the wars that have gone on in the last decade. Midnight blue rivers intersect cumulus clouds, fracturing full moon. Millions lost in war's bloodshed, burgeoning pathways to heaven. Thank you. Thank you for having this.
Thank you, Gretchen. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And is Janet Ruth here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, take it away, Janet. And Janet's in Corrales, which is sort of part of Albuquerque and sort of not part of Albuquerque.
Yeah, we try not to be.
It's a beautiful spot.
I'm gonna read my poem that's in survival. Both my husband and I are retired federal employees, and I can't begin to say how angry I feel and how much I think every day about all my friends, some of the hardest working people I've ever known, who are still dealing with all this. And I was thinking about reading an angry or a depressing poem, and Dave said, "No, read the hopeful one." So this is it has some of both in it, but it's kind of a little more hopeful. It's on page 197 in Survival, called Supposition for a Different Age. And it was written after Patty Ann Rogers' poem called simply Supposition. And so it's sort of modeled on her whole form and thoughts. Suppose the molecular transformation happening in the mind during the act of rising together resulted in a wave of shouting, clapping atoms swirling around the earth. Suppose that wave swelled in the unification of its intention. For instance, the expanding ripple from a single pebble tossed into a still pool, or the gradually synchronized tiny blazes of chemical flame emanating in response to the first firefly's glow. Suppose rising together diverse had physical properties and actually perpetuated itself, a solid thing. What if the shape and texture of its being rose beyond the particular places of individual risings, became a permanent music reverberating in the heavens? The deep, rich a cappella voices of Sweet Honey in the Rock, round and golden as the rising sun. Pulsing, throbbing drums in the Asete-Secoan camp in North Dakota. The heartbeats of the Pleiades. an atomic manifestation, the musical score for the libretto. How wondrous the diversity among birds, insects, plants, and humans. How particular the greater bird of paradise, the Madagascan sunset moth, the Venus flytrap, the transgender child whose name we do not even know. Suppose rising together, diverse, evolved from our individual beings by our own will and actions, had its own existence. What if multicolored harlequin hues gathered, combined and recombined like a kaleidoscope transforming light, affecting the rose tints on the Sandia Mountains beneath the setting sun, or caused a perturbation in the trajectory of a yellow-haired meteor flaming across our political heavens? What if rising together diverse created necessary catalysts for the tumultuous evolution of which we dream? Suppose for us to rise together, there was an element of need, as if a sodium atom sat waiting for a water molecule with which to ignite an explosion that would change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. That was beautiful. And, you know, we need that kind of hope more than ever. So, yeah, a necessary catalyst. Yeah, thank you. And Janet's an ornithologist by training and avocation. Is Mary Strong Jackson in the house?
No. Anybody else that had any anthology?
And Gail Orden's not. And what about Karen Bradbury?
No.
Yes, I'm here.
Karen?
Oh my goodness,
it's
Karen.
Karen.
Okay. Yeah.
And also Bruce Holsample's just joined us too.
Oh, good. Okay. I don't know if does he want to read or not. Okay. But Karen, hi.
Hi. Thank you. I hadn't thought about this book in a long time, and I just come across
why we're doing it
in my bookcase yesterday. And then I got that email this morning, so I was like, well, I got to do it.
Yeah. And, you know, I was hoping to just remainder the rest of these books and like, you know, after Kamala won, and I was just like, okay, ancient history. And now here we are again. Anyway, but it's a pleasure seeing you. Now, you used to live in Albuquerque, and where are you?
And now I live in Comanche, Texas,
Okay.
in the heart of, you know what?
Yeah.
Yes.
But stay safe out there. Yeah.
Well, this is from Walls. And it's on page 71. There was a note I had put in it. It was written in response to a New York Times article from November 14th, 2016. Refugees discover two Americas, one that hates and one that heals. So, Pantoum Farad Lalakaguli. I don't know what to believe. From Baghdad to Baltimore, we fled. No one wants you here. Terrorists leave. Reads the note we find. A new price on my head? From Baghdad to Baltimore, we fled, seeking safety for our children. Not the note we find. The old price on my head ended in Iraq with my 3 brothers shot. We seek safety for our children, not threatening notes tacked to the door. Had home ended in Iraq, 3 brothers shot so my children could fear still more? Threatening notes tacked to our door remind us of the bullets and bombs. My children still fear every day more. I want to stay, but I'm having qualms. Reminding us not of bullets and bombs, our neighbors bring yet another surprise. I want to stay, but I'm having qualms, despite their fruit baskets and pumpkin pies. One neighbor brought the first surprise. No one wants you here. Terrorists leave. Now, baskets of fruit and pumpkin pies. I don't know what to believe. And that was a story about a translator, one of the translator families that was brought over as refugees when we left Iraq. And unfortunately, it's the same thing today.
Same thing. Yep.
Same thing. Same thing. I mean, I hate what I hate is that actually here back then it was terrorist leave, and now that same sentiment has evolved into just foreigner leave.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you don't have to be a terrorist. Everybody's like the same.
Yeah.
Hate spreads. I don't know. Well, here's hoping for Thanksgiving somewhere.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you. That was a fine poem. Thank you, Karen. I'm gonna pull some names out of the old.
Okay, so we're gonna I'm gonna stop the recording if we have no more from the anthology, but thank you everybody for celebrating this.
Anybody else here that had work in the anthologies?
I did.
Oh, somebody's
That's
somebody
me.
said, come on.
What is it? Oh, you want me to go get it?
Well, I'm just doing it for the recording. So if you had something.
Sure.
there.
So let me go get it, but do something else in between.
Okay.
Okay. Who is that
Oh.
speaking?
That was Mina.
Okay. Amita, did you want to read?
Well, she's going to get something.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to pick some names. I've got three names: Eddie Foreman, Leslie Ullman, and Jennifer Maloney. Are any of them here?
I'll edit this recording before we.
Eddie Foreman, Leslie Ullman, and Jennifer Maloney. Are any of them here?
I don't think so. Not anymore.
Okay. I'm going to pick three more names while Mina's doing it. Okay. Johanna, I think, is here. Johanna.
Yes, Johanna DeMay is here.
Sharon Elliott and Sandy Yanone.
Sandy is not here.
Okay. Sharon Elliott.
Sharon is not here.
Okay, well, I'm going to pick two more names. So we got Johanna. Stephen Concert is here.
Yeah.
And Elaine Hamilton, I think, is here, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got three. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, if Mina, did you find a
Yes.
poem or not? Okay,
Yes,
in
I
which
did.
it's out of one of the volumes. So okay,
So
so
it's from
I'll
the-
let you, and I'm going to edit this. Hold on.
Okay. Okay, Mina. Hi, Mina from Rochester.
Hi.
Are you still in Rochester?
I am still in Rochester, yes.
Good. All right.
Thank
Okay.
you for having me. So this is from the walls.
Mhm.
I have two of them. There's the other one.
Yeah.
All right, so this is page 98, and it's called Closed Doors. Closed doors, damn closed doors, line of dominoes that don't fall. Kick the door open and you reach the second door, year after year, day after day, fighting the shut doors. Natural rebel, yup, spending the whole life in a cage, fighting every day, yup, a natural rebel. The doors are all broken, the walls down. Rubbles behind me, delicious fresh air ahead, openness, freedom, ease, acceptance, love, passion, elation, trembling, ecstasy, desire, all for me. The air for me, the breath for me, the door for me, the prison for you, the name for you. Life for me, Mina for me, go to hell for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah. And Jules?
Oh, I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay.
So thank you. All right.
Thank you, Mina. Great to see